All those people are missing. They're not here. They're not staying in hotels. They're not out there eating at our restaurants. They're not going to the attractions. They're not spending money locally on transportation, on entertainment, on retail. So when you add up all the money lost, because we lost that significant a number of visitors, that's where that billions of dollars of economic loss comes into play.
Understand the group.
People are fucking leaving. Like, we're all leaving. Rachel and I are leaving. Like, we can't fucking...
Please watch his entire video. It shows you just the frustration of so many people in Florida, and how so many people in Florida, it's not reported in the news, it's not really talked about, but there are thousands and thousands of people preparing and getting ready to leave.
Florida, where the beaches are warm, the politics are hot, and the cost of living just jumped into outer space. These folks voted red for decades, screaming tax cuts and freedom, while their insurance doubled, their rent tripled, and their tourism economy got boycotted into oblivion. Now, they're packing U-Hauls like it's a fire drill, whispering the unthinkable. Maybe Florida man was our governor all along. So today, we're watching everyday Floridians, retirees, small biz owners, single moms, realize their loyalty just priced them out of the Sunshine State. Grab your sunscreen and your moving boxes. This one's saltier than the Atlantic.
Because Florida has just gotten ridiculously expensive, and it's number one. Yeah, Florida's number one in inflation in the country. That's right. Florida is number one in inflation.
I told you so. Not with glee, but with a spreadsheet and a bottle of Tums. Here's the twist. Florida has no state income tax, so it relies on property taxes, sales tax, and tourism to fund everything. But instead of investing in housing or infrastructure, GOP leaders handed $2 billion in bailouts to insurance execs, while average folks pay 3x the national average for home insurance. You didn't vote for low taxes. You voted for privatized profits and socialized pain. And now your avocado toast costs $18. Enjoy.
So here's a guy explaining how much it used to just cost to rent a small place, and it's more than doubled. And going to the grocery store is ridiculous. But just living all around Florida, when you're number one in inflation, it's just one thing after another, after another, after another. And I have so many friends that live down in Florida, and many of them are just like, it's just too much. It's just gotten to be too much. We've had enough. We're moving out. So expect over the next couple of years a huge migration out of Florida. Yeah, you may still get some of the rich folk going down there, but the average Joe, no, the average Joe's leaving. Like and follow for more, and tell me what you think.
I know I'm not the only one that's enjoying watching Florida deal with the consequences of their own actions. As you all know, a lot of people are boycotting Florida because of their anti-immigrant stances, and a lot of aspects of Florida are hurting right now, including this one.
New Florida laws have been criticized by companies, organizations, and politicians in recent months. And now, groups looking to hold events in Central Florida are backing out.
I don't like hearing about conventions not coming here, and I think it's a hit to the economy when that happens. All those people are missing. They're not here. They're not staying in hotels. They're not out there eating at our restaurants. They're not going to the attractions. They're not spending money locally on transportation, on entertainment, on retail. So when you add up all the money lost, because we lost that significant a number of visitors, that's where that billions of dollars of economic loss comes into play.
Understand the group.
We've seen this coming since the Don't Say Gay bill. Convention planners aren't woke snowflakes, they're accountants. When your state passes laws that alienate half your attendees, your ROI plummets. Result? $20 million lost in Broward alone. Hotels empty, restaurants quiet, Uber drivers idle. All because MAGA lawmakers chose culture war points over actual working class jobs. Now you're mad your tips vanished. Bro, you voted to chase away the tippers.
Business, the conference business, they rely on attendees. In order to pay the costs and make some money, conferences have to have attendees. They have to have the registrations.
Nobody wants to go?
In great numbers to be able to put on the event in the first place. Many of them are concerned that they won't get people coming here.
Of
and
course.
their conferences won't be successful if they're held in Florida and they won't get the number of attendees required.
That hit, Calvin, exceeds $20 million in lost convention and event business so far just in Broward. Now, 10 conventions, conferences, and events through next year that chose to go elsewhere, specifically citing the political climate.
South Florida always topped the lists of places to go in Florida, but not these days. And those working here continue to struggle. According to the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau website, occupancy rates down 61%.
Florida tourism leaders continue to fret over a lag of international visitors. According to Visit Florida, the state's tourism marketing agency, numbers of international visitors to the state remain far below pre-pandemic levels.
Florida messed around and found out. As usual, familia, we need to continue to let our opinion be known, to continue to support our community. Pero mi gente, what do y'all think about all this?
Straight up, Florida's not failing. It's designed this way. No income tax means constant budget holes. So what fills the gap? Fees, fines, and regressive sales taxes that hit the poor hardest. Meanwhile, Florida's sitting on billions in Israeli war bonds, while seniors skip meds to pay power bills. You can't bootstrap your way out of a system built to funnel wealth upward. But sure, keep blaming immigrants while your governor takes campaign cash from offshore hedge funds.
Surprise, Florida just ranked as the second most financially distressed state in the entire country. Only where Texas is worse. It's not just an opinion, this comes straight from Google data. So what does financially distressed mean? It means more people are struggling to pay their bills, searching for payday loans, rent help, credit card relief, you name it. They are going to Google for help. And Floridians are struggling to survive here. And let's be real, it's not just hard to see why. Rents in Florida have skyrocketed. Groceries and insurance are completely out of control. Wages really haven't kept up. Families are working 2, sometimes 3 full-time jobs and still can't get ahead. Meanwhile, Florida politicians brag about cutting taxes for the wealthy and corporations while everyday people are drowning. And in Texas, where things are even worse, it's the same story. Leadership that ignores working class struggles while protecting big business. Now, this matters because these states are often held up by models of economic success. But the reality is people are just being left behind, and the data proves it. If the so-called Florida model is leaving people broke, maybe it's time we rethink what success really looks like. Be sure to follow along for updates.
Now, I just learned about this, that Florida actually owns billions of dollars of Israeli war bonds. My ADHD downfall is I want to dive deeper. Which areas of Florida were giving the most, or was this just a lump sum from the state of Florida? Florida actually has the most Israeli war bonds in the country. Moreover than that, they also have the county that single-handedly possesses the most Israeli war bonds. The county that owns the most has thrown me for an absolute free fall in my brain. Now, for those of you keeping up with local controversial events, you're going to want to know which county was giving the most money, but the whole reason the Israeli bonds even came up issue is because since 2023, our states have been doing this. Since October 10th, they've been investing in Israeli war bonds. But recently, Israel's economy's not doing so well, so they released what's called the rating on these bonds. Rating, in English, is just the risk assessment. How likely is it that this is going to succeed or fail? So real quick catch-up, when Florida heard that they were dropping their rating on their bonds, Florida said, we're not buying your bonds anymore. Israel said, why not? Florida said, you're not guaranteeing a return. But then, out of nowhere, Florida's greatest enemy. On July 1st, a law was passed that says you are no longer allowed to discriminate against foreign bonds, even if they're unrated and risky. You have to buy them. You may be wondering who passed that law. It was Florida. Point isn't the fact that our own states are using our own tax revenue at a county level to invest in foreign war. That's not the point. The county that owns the most Israeli war bonds is a county by the name of Palm Beach County. Some of you already see the connection there, but if you don't, let me bring you up to speed. This is the Palm Beach Post. Do you know who operated out of, lived in, was arrested in Palm Beach County? It's Jeffrey Epstein. Also, you remember that spa where Jeffrey Epstein was stealing underage workers from Trump's spa? Yeah, that same spa's in Palm Beach County, Florida. The mansion that Epstein and Trump fought over, Palm Beach County, Florida. And the guy who was prosecuting Epstein, Palm Beach County. And last one, just for funsies, which county's council's meeting to create a Donald J. Trump Boulevard? Palm Beach?
Trump is on the Epstein list. Yes, he is.
Genuinely, as a born and raised Floridian, seeing how much it has changed within that like last 5, I would say 3 to 5 years, genuinely, because the people from the north coming down here to move. My thing is, if you're gonna move down here and you're from the north and, you know, At least help us a little bit with the fucking politics to not make this state as shitty as already is, bitch. Okay, with these goddamn Republican politicians. Seeing people come down here and then seeing the over construction of houses and apartments, like that not even people who already live in that area can fucking afford.
Let's talk about supply versus demand fiction. MAGA voters love to say build more housing, but developers aren't building for you. They're building luxury condos for crypto bros and remote workers making $200K. So rents soar, wages flatline, and locals get priced out of the neighborhoods their grandparents built. You didn't get growth, you got displacement with palm trees.
Is ridiculous. Like, I personally feel like that reason is the reason why there's not so many senses of community anymore, like, within these areas. The only places that I have, like, left that I still engage with, because I've known them, I have a sense of community with them, I know the people that live there, I know how they are, and I know that we help each other, is probably the only area for me is, like, Apopka, and that's, like, in the main street area, you know, where, like, Mi Mexico is and stuff like that. Not only that, but then coming down here and then being like, oh my god, like, Floridians is so fucking weird, like, oh my god. And it's just like, this person is just saying hi to you because it's like, oh my god, hi. And then it's like, why is she talking to me? Girl, we're not, like, south, but this is still in the south. Like, people are still, like, friendly with each other. Chill the fuck out. Yes, there's fucking weirdos, but someone saying hi to you because they just want to talk to you isn't fucking weird. But like I said, back on the overconstruction part of it, it is so sad seeing so many communities that I've known or have, like, seen pretty much get stripped. And I'm talking about specifically the packing district. You know, that's what it is like now. Specifically, like, where that Circle Foxtail Coffee is and the Publix and all these new fucking apartments, even the one that they're still constructing. It used to be like these, like, mom and pop stores, and then now it's just whatever the fuck it is now. And I won't be surprised if they end up getting that goddamn, like, bright blue, you know, diner that is, like, down the road from it, you know? Not only that, but then when I was driving from Altamont Springs all the way down to Haines City, which is like an hour drive, the shit that I saw on my drive there was like 80-90% construction of, again, apartments, houses, or every time I was driving, I might not have seen the buildings, but they were always constructing something, and it's ridiculous. And like I said, it's like these houses that have these boring, minimalistic, lifeless architectures, you know, just rows and rows and rows of it, as if you have a fucking nightmare traditional, like, NPC type family. It looked lifeless. Not only that, but also, like, in the Orlando area. What's crazy about it, and I know this isn't like special to just this area or just Florida, but you'll be around these, like, fancy ass buildings, these tall buildings, like, near the fucking Dr. Phillips Center, or, like, you know, these areas, and then you go down, like, maybe 1 or 2 miles, and then now it's like, okay, suddenly you're seeing these new fucking buildings, but they're right next door. They're like, you see these, like, Black and Hispanic neighborhoods that you can tell, like, could use better housing, could, you know, you could put a lot more money into them. And it's just like, you're literally a 5-minute walk from a new clean sidewalk, and then you see the direct line split, and then you see the difference. And if you live in Orlando, you know what the fuck I'm talking about, I hope. And complaining about the fucking seasons not changing, it's Florida. The most you're gonna get is a breeze, okay? Like, the way it is right now is cold as fuck for me. Okay, if you're that fucking desperate to see the fucking seasons change and shit like that while still having it to be a bit warm, girl, go to fucking Georgia or some shit like that. I don't know, but it's genuinely pissing me the fuck off.
Oh, Florida. You in danger, girl. First off, I am from Florida. I grew up there. I went to UCF. I love Disney World. And I also escaped as quickly as I possibly could. If you have been wondering which states are going to get hit the hardest by these healthcare cuts, you guessed it, Florida is at the top of the list. Home of Governor Rambo, where you have 2 Republican senators and 20 of your 28 House of Representatives are Republicans. You effed around, and now you are going to find out.
This is the quiet betrayal. Healthcare collapse by design. Florida refused Medicaid expansion, leaving 2.5 million low-income adults with no safety net. Then they gutted ACA subsidies, so now a silver plan costs $680 per month in Holmes County. where the median income is $31K. That's not freedom. That's financial waterboarding, and you voted for the guy holding the hose.
Let's jump into the data. You know the one thing that Florida ranks last in this country? They rank last in the number of residents who are on employer-funded healthcare at 40%. You might be inclined to argue with me and say, well, that's probably because there is one single head of household who is on employer-funded healthcare coverage, and the rest of their family is also on that healthcare coverage. No, the data does not agree with you. An estimated 4.7 million Floridians are on ACA Obamacare marketplace insurance, representing 27% of the under 65 population. The national average is 8.8%. Was ACA perfect? No, there's not a single educated American who would say that it was perfect. Was it better than your premium skyrocketing? Yeah, I think so. Let's zoom in and look at Holmes County, Florida, just south of the border of Alabama, where in the 2024 general election, they voted for Donald Trump with 89.9% of their vote. You aggressively voted for this, Holmes County, Florida. In 2024, for individuals, the average cost of ACA Advantage Silver Premium Insurance for Holmes County, Florida, earning less than $35,000 per year was $312 per month. With the ACA subsidies in place and factoring in healthcare inflation, that number was anticipated to rise to $349 per month in 2026, an increase of around 11% in costs. But you voted for these subsidies to go away, and now your cost is $680 per month. That is an increase of 118%. It turns out that racism is very expensive.
Have to work nearly 100 hours a week to afford housing. West News tonight, Governor Gettigan spoke with some renters about the struggle to make ends meet.
Being priced out of renting is the reality for people living in Florida.
I thought it was more cheaper without the state tax and everything, but no.
A new report from the National Low Income Housing Coalition shows the average worker in the state is not making enough money to afford housing.
You should be able to live on your own.
Yeah, girl.
Wage.
The minimum wage in Florida is $12 an hour, but the report says Floridians would have to make nearly triple that amount in order to afford some decent housing.
Who makes $35 an hour?
Rent for a two-bedroom is almost $1,900. A tenant would have to make about $35 per hour to afford that. For a one-bedroom, they would need almost a $30 wage.
Our kids are gonna have to
the
work
average rent
and
is
pay
more than
this.
$1,500. According to the coalition, someone making Florida's minimum wage would have to work about 100 hours per week for apartment living.
That's kind of not fair.
It's not fair.
That's a long time. I don't work that much a week, so
Can't even get a McDonald's
I feel
meal.
bad for the average person that has to go through that to be able to put a roof over their head.
Let that sink in. The minimum wage is $12 per hour. To afford a two-bedroom, you need to make $35 per hour. That's not a housing crisis. That's a policy choice. While you were busy yelling about drag shows, GOP lawmakers were busy letting private equity firms buy up 1 in 5 homes, then jack up rents. Now you're crying. Maybe vote for someone who sees you as more than a campaign donation.
If you thought renters had it hard,
Just to
Zillow
live.
says becoming a Florida homeowner with a median income means saving up for 17 years.
Girl, goodbye.
That's how long it can take to afford today's average down payment.
How bad are things in Florida? From a real estate standpoint, I'll tell you how bad. Lee County, Cape Coral, and Fort Myers. It's a small county. It's a small area. How many homes do you think are for sale in Little Lee County, Florida? You probably couldn't guess if you wanted to, but believe it or not, right now, there is over 24,000 homes for sale in Lee County, the most ever. There's never, ever in the history of Lee County been 24,000 homes for sale. And that tells you the dire situation that is going on, not only in Lee County, but around Florida. Because let me ask you another question. How many vacant homes do you think are in Florida right now? Vacant, no one inside. How many? 500,000? 800,000? 1 million. Those would all be wrong because it's double that number. There right now in Florida, there's over 2 million empty homes in Florida. And it's only getting worse.
Yes, this is the ultimate grift. Artificial scarcity. Why leave 2 million homes vacant? Because it's more profitable to speculate than to rent affordably. And who enables that? A Republican legislature that cut corporate property taxes while hiking them on regular homeowners. You're not free. You're hostage to a real estate cartel, and your party's on their payroll.
We'll be talking about this all year in 2025. Like and follow for more.
Florida is so broke right now, people are literally financing their groceries like a car note. Florida has officially turned into the second most financially distressed state in America. Of course, only Texas beat them out. When I saw it, I thought, dang, Florida and Texas are in competition with each other to see who can treat their people the worst. See, here's the wild part. A new study found that 25% of Floridians are financing their groceries using buy now, pay later. You heard that right. Loans.
Oh, honey, grocery loans? That's not personal responsibility. That's a systemic collapse. When your state ranks dead last in employer-sponsored healthcare and your utility bills spike 400% and your wages haven't moved in 10 years, of course you're financing milk like it's a BMW. But hey, at least your billionaire governor got that yacht tax break. Priorities.
We finance cars, homes. Some people even do it to furniture. Now it's chicken wings, bread, and milk. Honestly, it doesn't surprise me, because when you look at Florida, a huge part of the problem is the elderly. And it's not like grandma can go get a side hustle at Amazon or the grocery store to make up for the money that she misses every month. The elderly don't have that option. It means that they're feeling the squeeze tighter than anybody else. And the squeeze is brutal. People are delaying payment, racking up late fees, filing bankruptcy, or just straight up not paying bills no more. That's not living paycheck to paycheck. That's survival on credit. And just note, it's not just a Florida story or a Texas story. When two of the largest states in the country are collapsing under the weight of necessities, that means it's a sign that it's happening everywhere. So if Florida is drowning while selling sunshine and palm trees, imagine what it looks like in states that don't have the tourism economy to fall back on. And quiet as kept, Florida ain't got it to fall back on no more either. So remember, America will sell you a dream, but it will make you finance the groceries just to stay alive. And if you think it's normal, then you've already accepted living in a nightmare.
George Bush lost both the popular vote and technically he would have lost the electoral college vote were it not because of his brother. On election night in the year 2000, George Bush and Al Gore were basically tied. Al Gore was almost over the mark, which is 270. That is the line where you win the majority of the electoral college votes and you basically become president. Because remember, it's not the popular vote that makes people become president. It is electoral college votes. Al Gore was at 266 electoral college votes. George Bush was behind him, but Florida was the last state that needed to finish counting. And guess who was the governor of the state of Florida? Jeb Bush, George Bush's brother. Counting is taking a long fucking time because it is close. And they had this weird system where you would punch the paper and a lot of the paper wasn't the little pieces. They're called hanging chads. Those little pieces of paper hadn't fully broken off. And so there was this whole argument as to whether or not you would count that as a vote if the little piece of paper hadn't fallen off. Total bullshit. Jeb Bush wanted the hand count to stop, because then obviously he wanted his brother to become president. And the hand count continued to go in Al Gore's favor. However, after about a month of this, there was a big Supreme Court case, and it was argued by the Supreme Court with ultimately Antonin Scalia, the conservative justice who sided with Clarence Thomas, right? They said that no, we should stop counting the votes in Florida. And they stopped counting in Florida. And George Bush was named our president. When they actually completed that hand count later, they found that Al Gore would have won. So Al Gore actually should have been our president. He should have won Florida, and George Bush should not have. Every fucking vote matters. George Bush didn't win. Al Gore technically would have won the Electoral College, and he already won the popular vote by around 500,000 votes nationwide.
Finally, a voter connecting the dots. Tourism is 25% of Florida's economy. Yet DeSantis pushed laws so extreme, Disney, yes, Disney, said nah. Convention centers, empty. International flights, down 30%. All while MAGA cheers own the libs as their tips vanish and their hours get cut. You didn't save Florida. You turned it into a political theme park with no visitors. So, Florida didn't fail. Its leadership did. But here's the hope. People are waking up, talking to neighbors, voting in school board races, because freedom isn't just low taxes. It's affordable rent, clean water, and a doctor who takes your insurance. So to every Floridian watching this, your vote isn't loyalty, it's leverage. Use it to fund schools, not scapegoats. Use it to lower bills, not build walls. If you're tired of financing your groceries like a car payment, smash like, subscribe. And in the comments, what policy finally woke up your county? Stay sharp, stay Southern. And remember, the only thing Florida should be exporting is lessons learned.